Hey everyone, I'm Alex.
And I'm Kirsten.
And tonight, I don't even know what we're talking about.
But it's going to be dreadful.
Alright, what are we talking about?
Okay, so I found a creepy story on a ghost forum, even though they're like, this doesn't qualify as a ghost story, but that's what we're going with.
Okay, ghost story.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, ready?
I don't like ghost stories.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I'm reading it exactly from them, so it's me reading it in their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this is an old story, at least in my family. It's the kind of story that gets told when you're old enough, at Christmas and birthdays. And I'll admit, it feels pretty good to be told once you've reached that it's the right age. It's like you've been let into some kind of big secret that the rest of the family shares in hushed tones. I won't claim it to be particularly scarier than anything else you've ever heard before. There aren't any ghosts or demons or cosmic entities, but it frightened me to death the first time I was told it.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Well, it scared me the first time I read this. My uncle, who used to work in the 60s in one of those massive depot warehouses, the ones where like they stored boxes of random things before being shipped off to where they were actually meant to be. So he was broke at the time, down on his luck, and he worked as the night security at this place. The depot was surrounded by dense woods. The site was huge, the compound of individual warehouses and storerooms with a central car park. My uncle's office was tucked away in the corner in one of these warehouses, and he always made it a point to emphasize just how cavernous this place was. The way he put it, when you walk through the warehouse at night, you couldn't even see the roof, just shelves and shelves of boxes stretching up into the darkness. Every night, my uncle had to arrive at 1:45, walk up and down every aisle of shelves in every warehouse, and then go into his office and wait out the rest of his shift. Keep his eyes and ears peeled for any disturbances. Simple job, easy money. Mind you, he wouldn't spend much time actually patrolling the place. He used to play poker with himself just to keep the night going.
He's a security guard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the only person in this building. Well, actually, it's multiple buildings, but he's the only person there. So on this particular night, my uncle pulls up in his truck to the car park, right on time as always. He says it was a pretty clear night with a big, bright, full moon. At the door to the warehouse, he sees the guy that he's supposed to meet to take over for him. A guy called Vinny. Now, the way my uncle describes Vinny, basically, he was a nice enough guy, but not everything worked properly upstairs, if you know what I mean. He was an older guy, and he had worked security there almost his whole life. And it was always coming up with little oddities and sayings, like, for instance, when it rained, he used to say, the fish will come a-walking, and he used to say things like the government was putting zinc into cornflakes. Now, keep in mind, my uncle didn't really take much of what Vinny had to say too seriously. So my uncle walks up to Vinny, and he says, hey, Vinny, good night, or whatever, and straight away he can tell that, like, something's weird with Vinny, even more so than usual. Vinny's barely registered him, and he's staring really intently at something far off, past the fence, off the depot, near the tree line. Everything all right, man? Asks my uncle. Vinny turns slowly and quietly and says, there's something behind the tree out there. You see him peeking. My uncle turns to where Vinny's looking, and it's dark, and the moonlight doesn't really reach that far. Look, he's peeking at us. Vinny's words gave my uncle some serious heebie-jeebies, so that he actually gets, like, pissed off, and he's, like, annoyed at the guy for, like, scaring him right before he starts off his shift.
Oh yeah, because now you're going to spend the night in this empty place.
Yeah.
And you think, or someone's told you there's something crawling around, creeping around outside.
Yeah. So he tells Vinny to knock it off. He tells Vinny, yo, shut up. You know, Vinny's off anyway, so he goes shuffling over to his car. My uncle peers again at the trees and sees nothing, and then he brushes off Vinny and, like, as either paranoid, senile, or possibly both. He walks inside through the cavernous warehouse, and he starts his patrol. There were 6 warehouses, and each warehouse had aisles A through Z. So it says, I'm not sure I'm going to do the math for you, but it's quite a lot of aisles to cover. My uncle goes through all of them with only his torch to light the way. But by now, he's used to it, and there's nothing amiss. He goes back to his little office and switches on the radio, and he starts playing cards. He spends the next few uneventful hours like this. At about 3 a.m, there's suddenly a deafening crash in the distance. My uncle jumps up about a foot in the air, and he can tell the sound came from the other side of the warehouse. It sounds like a heavy box or an entire shelf had fallen over, or maybe been pushed. My uncle says he can remember the exact song that came on the radio at the moment. Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Now, if you don't know that song, you don't know how unbelievably creepy it is. My uncle probably would have chosen just about any other song in the world to play at that second in that lonely night. Despite absolutely categorically not wanting to step out of his safe little office, my uncle knows it's his job to go check out the sound. So as he steps out of his office into the warehouse, he can hear that song trailing after him. The words followed him as he reluctantly made his way down aisle A, where he finds nothing wrong. Then he moves left and turns up to aisle B, where again, nothing is out of place. He repeats this process, making his way up and down the aisles by flashlight, looking for what caused that clanging noise. It's about this moment that Vinny's words from earlier in the night came back to him. He gets to aisle T and he points his flashlight down at the end, and at first he thinks everything is fine. Just as he's about to continue off, he sees something way down at the other end of the aisle. It's a shape sticking out from behind the other end of the shelf. It's small and sticking out a few meters up in the air. He's not scared at first, just confused because he can't tell what it is. His body recoils instinctively when it starts to move. But still, he can't tell what it is, only that it's moving subtly. He stares and stares at the shape, and then something clicks in his mind, like a jigsaw coming into place, and now he sees the full picture, and he doesn't like it. Not one bit. It's an arm.
Oh. I was already starting to get some goosebumps.
I know, right? It's an arm, and it's waving at him. He can't see the owner of the arm. He can just see it sticking horizontally from the end of the aisle. The rest of the body is obscured by the shelf. It's waving very slowly. My uncle, in this moment, which shocks himself, calls out there, "Hey, who's there?" His voice cracks on the there, and he hopes that whoever this is hasn't heard the fear in him. The person doesn't reveal themselves, just slowly pulls their arm back behind the shelf. Out of the sight, my uncle immediately half walks, half runs down the aisle to where the arm just was. But there was no sign of anyone there. Now that he hurries down past all the other aisles in that direction, past parcels and packages, but he can't find the intruder anywhere. Now, the whole time he's searching the aisles, he can hear noises from the aisles perpendicular to him. Like whatever aisle he was in, he can make out noises just past the shelves next to him, but he can't see what's making the noises. He hears light, frantic footsteps pitter-pattering across the floor adjacent to him, always just out of sight. At this point, he's probably trying to pinch himself to wake up from this entire situation, because it sounds like there's somebody sprinting barefoot through this empty warehouse in the middle of the night. He gets back to aisle A, outside of his office, and he can't hear the footsteps anymore anywhere, and he's just starting to freak out now, thinking he's let an intruder in and lost them. He turns to start searching the aisles again, and then the flashlight hits something down at the end of the aisle A. Now, it's not an arm. It's a head.
Okay. Oh.
The face is peeking around the shelf, half obscured to the extent he has to squint to make sure he's actually really seeing it. It's dark, and in the distance between them, he can only make out 3 features. The hair is too wild and matted for him to decide if it's a man or a woman. The skin is disgustingly pale, and he has a horrible suspicion, as best he can see, like the face is grinning at him. Mm-hmm. According to my uncle, he actually said the word "nope" under his breath and leaped into his office and locked the door. I just said nope when I heard the first thing.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Going back in this office, locking the door. Wait for daylight and f*** you, Vinny. It's your turn.
No, that's not what happens. Hang on.
This guy for Vinny.
Oh, it gets better.
Okay.
So he pushes his desk up against the locked door and rushes over to the small landline phone in the corner of the office. He rang his boss, who wasn't too pleased about being awoken at 3 a.m., and then on the instructions of his boss called the police. My uncle says that while he's making these calls, he begins to hear light scratching at the office door, faintly coming in small bouts every so often. Mm-hmm. He describes it as not like somebody trying to get in, just somebody letting him know that they were on the other side.
Sounds like someone's messing with him. What if Vinny's not as dumb as you think he is? And Vinny's like, hey, you see that over there? And he's like, there's nothing really there. And Vinny's like, we'll see, buddy. And then Vinny sneaks back in and
I mean, maybe.
starts messing with him.
Hang on, though. You ready?
No, but go ahead.
Because he's called the cops.
Okay.
The cops arrived and searched the depot and found nobody there, but more and more police came. The place was shut down for weeks, but it's because of what they found in one of the large boxes, which had fallen out of place into the middle of aisle Z. There was a note which read in neat cursive handwriting, I have no mouth, yet I still bite. I have no nose, but I can smell. I'll frolic in the moon when the moonlight is bright. You'll frolic with me down in hell. Nestled alongside was a decomposing arm and a decapitated head.
Oh,
My
that's
uncle
weird.
quit.
Yeah, I'd have quit too. I'd have quit right then.
Yep.
If there's actually the head and the arm.
Mm-hmm.
There was another person there, and that's why you never saw who they belonged to, because they weren't attached to anybody. It was just someone like holding this arm out and like waving it.
I don't think so.
I hope so.
I mean, you can hope so. but
Someone's a murderer. They took the arm and the head. They're sticking the arm out and waving it and messing with him. And then they're running around, and then they're sticking the head out and having it smile and being creepy. That is creepy, but
it's incredibly creepy. I don't think that's what it was at
Ugh.
all.
I don't think I want to know what you think it was. What do you think it was?
I have a couple theories. It's either whoever that person actually is.
Mm-hmm. Right, whoever the arm and head belonged to.
Potentially ghost, yeah, potentially the ghost of that person.
Could be.
It's that. It could be a skinwalker. Could be a lot of things.
Could be Uncle's full of shit.
I don't know.
I hope.
Maybe, but here's my thing. If you actually did find the other stuff in the warehouse.
So he says.
He says, but.
Right. I could tell my nieces and nephews anything and they'd believe it.
I don't think you'd be telling them this as young as they are.
No, I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
How old did OP have to be to hear the story?
I don't know, but I'm like, dude, I'm old enough and I could have went my whole life without hearing that story.
Oh, yeah, I could have too. If your uncle's a real he'd wait until you're just old enough to, like, as soon as you, like, get your first apartment or you buy a house or whatever and move out on your own, tell it to you the first night you spend there.
I mean, I could see that, but no thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go.
That was creepy. I didn't like it.
I know. As soon as I read it, I was like, oh, this will scare you. I have to tell it to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Hey, you made me watch scary movies when we were dating. Remember we watched Sinister?
Oh, yeah, that was creepy.
That was extremely creepy.
Well, that was creepy. I would call it dreadful.
If you like it, tell us what you think. If there's something you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments.
If you have your own story you'd like us to tell or
Yeah.
something creepy like that, let us know.
Yeah, maybe we'll start doing more of these where we're just reading other people's stories.
That'd be cool. If anyone's got a story, let us know. Yeah.
We'll let Alex read them next time. He's better at it.
Yeah, I'll read your stories. But yeah, give us a like.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Thanks for watching or listening. Guess this is the part where Kirsten says bye.
Okay, bye.
Sleep tight.